Hey everyone, and welcome to Groove Builders, the show where we create together. I'm your host, Disorderly Cone, and in this episode, we're going to be building the tallest tower in the world, the Burj Khalifa from Metal Earth, and we're going to be seeing how well it stacks up to the other models in the architectural line. Groovers, let's get down to the workbench and take a look at our package.
Groove Builders, welcome to the workbench. We have the Metal Earth Burj Khalifa here in some classic Metal Earth packaging. If yours at home looks a little bit different, don't worry. The insides are exactly the same. Mine's just a little bit older. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back. On the back, we have a QR code which we can scan to get a 360 view of our model if we need it while we're building. This comes in handy when we're putting little bits of detail onto our model. Then on the right here, we have some information on the Burj Khalifa. And finally, at the bottom, we get a look at some other models in the series. Very neat. All right, let's go ahead and open up our model. We have our instructions, and we have our 2 sheets of metal. This actually might be a little bit bigger than I thought. Alright Groovers, let's take a look at our instructions together. Okay, there really isn't much here, especially in comparison to our last few builds, but in my experience, even when something looks simple, it's often not. I already see a few things here that might be tricky, but things shouldn't take too long. Let's go ahead and start with the basics. First things first, these metal models require us to cut out our pieces, then shape them using whatever we can. Once we have our parts correctly shaped, we connect them together by bending and twisting our tabs. The way we bend or twist our tabs is indicated in the instructions by the circles and triangles. Personally, I try to follow the instructions the first time when it comes to bending our tabs if I can. Then, when the build is complete, I'll go over it again and change anything that might stand out. I like to make my tabs as invisible as possible. That's how you get that museum quality you hear so much about. Next up, tools. Drum roll please. For this build, I recommend detailed tweezers, pliers, nippers, and something to help you with different size cylinders. I use my dapping set and mandrels for my cylinders and they work great. If you're looking for tools, links are in the description down below. Now, these are just my recommendations, and you really don't need anything but tweezers and nippers to complete this build. But of course, having the right tools definitely helps. Alright, we reviewed our instructions, and we have our tools. There's only one more thing left to do.
What's that, Godzilla? What's that? You want them to press the like button? And they haven't? You should really fix that. Thanks. Alright, let's continue on with the build.
We start the Burj Khalifa by tackling the lower base. This looks like a flower. Parts 2, 5, and 7 are formed very similar, but are harder as we move on through the build. I found the best way to get our tabs into the insertion holes with these pieces is to slightly push out on the centers of parts 2, 5, and 7. Not a whole lot, just enough to make some room to secure the back tabs first and then the front ones. Don't be surprised if it doesn't go in on the first try, and double check to make sure you're not accidentally putting the tab into one of the windows. The windows here look exactly like the insertion holes, except the insertion holes are slightly smaller. Getting these tabs into place and of course attaching all of our parts here to the base took the most amount of time for me in this build, so be prepared. Next up, let's talk about shaping part 3. These 3 parts have small bends in them and are secured to the center of our model. The key to shaping these correctly is to match the tops of part 1 and 3. If you have a small gap, make sure you form the piece a little bit more. All 3 pieces for part 3 actually have all of our tabs for the base going into them, and if they're slightly misshaped, it will cause some problems for you down the road. When you're happy with the base and how it looks, it's time to move on to our towers. Parts 8, 11, and 12 make up our tower fronts. These parts may look the same, but they have a few differences. Make sure if you cut them out at the same time that you separate them so you don't get confused. If you're trying to connect your parts together and the tabs aren't reaching their insertion holes or something isn't really looking right, chances are you probably have the wrong part on somewhere. Let's get to forming. At first, I thought it would be a good idea to roll parts 8, 11, and 12 over my mandrel. I quickly realized this was not working out well and switched over to the old school way of bending things with my tweezers, one part at a time. With big parts like these, using the inside of your tweezers will give you more of a tool to work with, and also make those bends a lot straighter. Try your best to bend these parts from the center and then work your way out. This way, all the fold lines get bent, and it'll be way easier for you to attach all the tabs into parts 9, 11, and 13. Okay, just tighten this up, and I think we're done. And only 50 minutes. Awesome.
And we did it! We built the Burj Khalifa, and this model looks really cool when it's complete. But now for the major question. Does the Burj Khalifa from Metal Earth get the Groove Builder's seal of approval? Unfortunately, it doesn't, and for a few reasons. The first reason why the Burj Khalifa doesn't get the Groove Builder's seal of approval is because of the detail itself. While it does look nice for an earlier model, there's a lot here to be desired, and because of how nice the Burj Khalifa is in real life, this model really does leave a lot to be desired. I think that in the future, Metal Earth could do a really cool Iconics version of this and include some awesome details, like some of the pools on the levels at the top here, and maybe some of the gardens below the bottom. I think that would really add to this build. The second reason why I can't really recommend this model is because it's retiring. And I think Metal Earth realized that this model could be a lot better, and that's why they're doing that. Now, a retired model doesn't mean you're never going to see this model again. There are plenty of metal model builders out there and metal model companies that will make this build for you to be able to purchase online if you really want to find it. But with Metal Earth retiring it, like I said, I'm really interested to see what they're going to come out in the future. And I would really like to see this build again kind of reimagined with the details that they're putting into their work now. Alright, Groove Builders, that brings us to the end of our show. I had a really good time building the Burj Khalifa with you, and if you guys had a good time, don't forget to press that like button. For more videos like this, hit subscribe as well, as we got all kinds of really cool content coming out in the future. If you would like to support the show and help the channel grow, check out Dubai.This. We got all kinds of really cool models on there for sale at amazing prices. Until next time, Groove Builders, keep building. Now to figure out where this one belongs on my desk.